Hi, my name is Rod Simmons. I'm VP of Product Strategy at StealthBits for the Active Directory product portfolio. Today, I'd like to talk to you about how we help customers analyze Active Directory LDAP activity using StealthINTERCEPT. For most customers who want to analyze LDAP activity, they already have some reasons in mind why they want to start. But for this call, I'll try to establish many of the common reasons customers want to analyze LDAP activity, how to schedule the collection of data and or filter the data so we don't get an abundance of noise when we're collecting LDAP activity. And then most important, how we identify our top activity types when we're looking at the traffic. The reasons why customers want to look at LDAP activity varies, but most commonly it's to identify attack tools such as Bloodhound or Metasploit, or they might want to try to gain some levels of efficiency out of LDAP activity. So identifying inefficient queries, excessive queries like excessive volume from a particular host, identifying insecure queries, which is something we're all focusing on with changes Microsoft has coming for us in the second half of the year. Identify searches that are just taking a very long time to complete, or more importantly, that might be timing out based upon how you have your environment configured, or searches that are just returning back almost every single object in your environment, so very large result sets. So those are the most common reasons why customers usually want to do some analysis of LDAP activity. Stealth Intercept provides a wide variety of ways to filter data to get exactly what you want. But as a customer, you need to make a couple decisions up front. Are we going to choose what to include? So if you're looking for attack tools like Metasploit or Bloodhound and you know exactly the behavior you're looking for, we can choose to say, identify when we see these particular behavioral patterns. In contrast, if you really don't know what you're looking for, you're saying, I know it's excessive activity, but I don't know really what the queries are. We might want to go a method where we're going to say, let's try to identify activity where the queries are taking a very long time to run, or identify activity where the query result sizes are in excess of a particular value. Regardless of the approach you take, I always say it's better for you to choose to say, I'd like to include these things. There's always option two to saying, I'd rather try to collect everything and then start trying to filter it down. I always say that is my backdoor approach to trying to do this, because usually if you don't have any idea what you're looking for, it's very easy for us to do some data sampling, but I'm getting a little ahead of myself and we're going to talk about that on the next slide. LDAP activity can generate a large number of events in a very short period of time. So since we've done some work up front on how we'd like to filter our data, when we start collecting, no matter how good we think we've done up front, we likely don't want to just turn on a policy and walk away from it. We'd rather turn it on for a period of time. So there's two real approaches for that. One, which is my favorite, is to pick three random 30-minute intervals in the course of a day and schedule your policy to enable auditing during those sampling times. It allows you to collect enough data over those periods of time so that you can do some general analysis, but it doesn't run forever where if you come back to it in 3 days and realize, oh my gosh, I forgot, you're not going to be terribly concerned that you've gathered too much data. Option two, which is equally valuable, is to just turn it on right now. We're going to monitor the console, verify we're collecting some events, wait about 5 minutes, and turn it off. This option allows us to do some quick short-term analysis of data, adjust our filters, and then turn on a collection going forward.
Now let's analyze how you look at LDAP activity. One of the easy ways is just to sort the query filter column to see if you see any patterns emerge. Like, do you see a lot of the same query over and over again? That's a really good visual way to do it. But what most customers want to do is they want to look at, let's grab a user or the users column and see activity by particular accounts. One of the nice things you can do is you can actually take this and group it by or order it by the most volume of queries at the top. So in this case, I see that I have a computer account there. If I don't want to see activity by computers accounts, what I would do in my policy is I'd say filter out any activity that originates by domain controllers, domain computers, read-only domain controllers. The second account happens to be an application account. I see a lot of activity by it, but maybe I want to know, does the activity originate to multiple domain controllers or does it originate from a single host? So I can just grab my agented servers, drop that up there, and then I'm subgrouping so I can look at this and say, I see that that comes from goes to two domain controllers. The benefit there is I know that if I were to take if the account only talked to a single domain controller and I took that down, Would I have an application that goes offline because it's targeting only a single domain controller in my environment? So as you analyze data, you might identify applications that you think might only be communicating with a single domain controller. So that's something to keep your eye out so that you don't have a maintenance window and you take down an application in your environment. Some of the other ways that users like to actually look at data in our environment is going to be based upon I want to know queries that are running really slow in our environment. So I'll scroll over here and we can identify those. So slow queries are the ones where you look at the max runtime on those queries. And I'm just going to really quick sort that so we can get the slowest running queries at the top. Microsoft recommends around 150 milliseconds. So right, pretty much everything here up in my environment is slow. But you want to identify, are we running slow queries? Does that happen to do with they're searching for non-index attributes? They're doing cross-domain searching. What could be going on that's causing their queries to run slow? You do have full access to looking at all the information in their queries, especially the query search string and the attributes that they actually requested and the attributes they received. So it makes it very easy for you to try to identify what the root cause of a problem is. The other thing that customers like to look at are the objects returned. So what objects returned will help you understand are really large searches. So nothing's more annoying than talking to a user and saying, hey, you ran this search and you returned 34,000 items. How good was that for you? Could you filter your search down, or did you really need to get 34,000 items? So typically, I'd say over 1,000 is probably sometimes useless in many searches, but most people will say, let's put that mark around 10,000. What this allows you to do is in the product, you can say, I want to look at searches, but I want to filter where if it returns more than 10,000 items. So if it's under 10,000 items, filter it, I don't want to see it, but over 10,000 items, I'd like to see those searches. Another thing that you can do in the product is add in your query search strings. So if someone's using things, if you're looking for activity from like Metasploit or Bloodhound, you can put the query search strings that you're looking for inside of the product, and we can say, I saw that the type of activity that you say is indicative of those type of attack tools. Or if you're just looking for non-secure LDAP activity, you can just go ahead and check that one box for non-secured activity, and you get that type of data. These are just some of the ways that customers actually analyze the LDAP activity for either building new filters, identifying activity that they want to focus on, or working with their application teams to say, hey, we can try to find better ways to leverage the directory. Hopefully this was a useful session for you.